Edward married me at all costs. After the wedding, he spoiled me, protected me, and cherished me. I always thought he loved me, until I fell in love with him, carried his child, and then he pushed me away. I lost the baby. Edward, gritting his teeth, said word by word, "Why couldn't it have been you who died? MIA. Turns out all his affection was just an act. After knowing the truth, I committed suicide. After I died, he realized he had been revenging the wrong person. He cried bitterly, clutching my clothes. MIA. We've already discussed it with Edward. You marry Edward, and his family won't pursue this any further." The sourness surged up in my nose instantly. Mom, it was obviously my brother who did wrong. Why do I have to take the fall? Her face instantly darkened. MIA. Are you trying to force your brother into jail? Don't forget, you're a Smith. Your upbringing, your food, your clothes, all came from me and your dad. Without us, you would still be the high and mighty the Smith's daughter. But Mom, I never felt looked up to because I'm a Smith. They all laughed at me behind my back. Even though we're twins, you had the doctor take me out first. You made me the older sister and Charles the younger brother. And that label of being the older sister has been the chain making me compromise all the time. When Charles took my toys, you said as the older sister, I should let him have them. When Charles wanted me to play chess with him, I didn't want to, but you insisted I play with him. When Charles wanted to ride on my back, I didn't want to. You said I was so stingy, not letting my brother ride for a bit, to make you and Dad like me just a bit more. I obediently got on all fours, letting Charles ride on my back. He excitedly called while sitting on me. You cheered happily with him. I supported him with all my might, because he was like a little fat ball. As a child, I didn't understand why you favored my brother more. So I carefully tried to please you, to be a sensible child. I worked hard to be first in class. I competed in various competitions to win awards. Even when I was sick, I didn't dare bother you, wrapped myself up until I sweated it out. I learned the dishes you liked to cook them for you and Dad. But you only consoled my crying brother. You only ever talked about him. I stood there numbly, tears soaking my eyes, falling and smashing onto the floor. I didn't want to cry, because I knew it was useless. Mom would still make me marry a stranger. The glass cup on the table was smashed to the floor by Mom, shattered pieces scattered by my feet. A shard instantly cut my calf. Blood pearls trickled down. MIA. Why are you crying? Edward's family is the richest. Edward is the only son. All his family's assets will be his in the future. Marrying him is a blessing. What's there to be upset about? So many elite women were breaking their heads to marry him. Edward is exceptional and never had a woman by his side. Be content. I knew I couldn't escape this. Being submissive for so long had made me forget the courage to resist. I closed my eyes and choked. Mom, I'll marry him. Fine. Mom walked over to pat my shoulder, gently. I knew you were a good child. She forgot her earlier outburst. Is your leg hurting? She yelled upstairs. Linda, bring the first aid kit for MIA. I thought she didn't see it, but she had been aware my leg was bleeding, waiting for me to bow my head. When I did, giving in, she offered a bit of her concern. My brother was their whole world. Charles sought revenge and had many people beat Edward up. Only then did he realize he beat the wrong person. But Edward wouldn't let it slide. He declared he'd keep him imprisoned forever. Being their only hope, my parents fought to protect him. I didn't understand why Edward's family wanted to marry me. He didn't lack suitors. If he wanted, girls would flock to him. Edward's family issued a letter of forgiveness. Charles got a year's sentence, suspended for a year. He got out. We all went to pick him up. He walked out, grinning like a hooligan. MIA. You should thank me. Without me, how could you enter Edward's house? I snapped. If you like Edward so much, why don't you marry him? MIA. What are you saying? Your brother can't marry Edward. Mom, what if Edward likes men? Mom slapped my back. What nonsense are you talking? Your brother has to marry and give me grandchildren. Charles looked at me smugly. I turned to look out the window, not arguing anymore. Graduating soon. I didn't know why Mom asked that. I nodded. She said, since you're marrying into Edward's family, don't look for a job. Be a good wife and have a boy for their family. Then your status will be secure. I disagreed. Mom, I love my major. I want to teach. Teaching? How much can you earn as a teacher? Your task is to give birth to Edward's kids. I stopped talking. No matter what, I still wanted to work. I didn't want to be a woman waiting for her husband's return every day. Your dad's already set it up. The families will meet the day after tomorrow and finalize everything. I rolled down all the car windows. When the wind hit my face, I felt a little bit of freedom. MIA. I'm freezing. Close the windows, Charles shouted. MIA. Don't let your brother catch a cold. Roll the windows back up. On the morning of the meeting, my mom took out a high-end dress and a diamond necklace. Funny thing is, though our family's not as well off as Edward's, we're still considered upper class. But I've always worn clothes that cost a few $100. while my brother gets custom-made outfits. So, no one wanted to hang out with this neglected rich girl. MIA, this is a necklace your dad bought for you at an auction. It's worth a few million. Try it on. Mom, that's not necessary. If Edward doesn't like me, does that mean I don't have to marry him? Silly girl, what are you talking about? Today's a big deal. You have to look nice. But why was it that on my 18th birthday, I just wore whatever? I held my tongue. When we arrived at the restaurant, we saw Edward waiting by the roadside. Knowing I'd marry this guy, I searched him online. Edward graduated from MIT at 23, took over his family's business as GM, and by 25, he became CEO, doubling the company's stock in just 2 years. He's the richest man around, and apparently kept clean, never had a girlfriend. Such an outstanding guy must have someone he loves, right? He politely opened the passenger door for my mom. Uncle, aunt, nice to meet you. My mom's smile didn't fade after seeing him. Sorry to keep you waiting. My dad nodded with satisfaction. Edward nodded back slightly and looked at me. You must be MIA, right? His voice sounded like a clear stream flowing over stones at night, gentle and soft. Hi, Edward, I'm MIA. He smiled at me gently. Let's go inside. At the table, they talked about the dowry. When my dad asked for 10% of the shares, I was stunned. I knew this project was something my dad could only get into through this marriage. Otherwise, Edward's family would have never cooperated with us. The project is backed by 4 families, with Edward's family taking the biggest share. My family only held 13%. If Edward's family transferred 10% to us, they'd be equal with the Michaels family, who was the second largest shareholder. This would greatly change the decision-making power of the project. Clearly, our family owed Edward's family. How could they be so bold? The entire private room fell silent. I looked at Edward, hoping he wouldn't agree. He caught my gaze and smiled reassuringly. All right, I agree. Edward, Dad, I've thought it through. His answer was firm, leaving no room for debate. His father sighed deeply, saying nothing more. I was baffled. Why was he sacrificing such a huge interest for me? Charles nudged me with his elbow, whispering, MIA, who knew you had such charm to make Edward offer such a big gift? Were you two together already? I searched my memory for Edward's face, but I was certain I'd never met him. My dad raised his glass, beaming. It settled then. Edward stood up, clinked his glass against Dad's, and downed his drink. A month later, the wedding arrived as planned. The wedding was very low-key, with only relatives from both families attending. I didn't invite my best friend. I refused my dad's escort. I walked alone in my wedding dress towards Edward. He stood in the middle of the stage, looking at me with gentle eyes. At that moment, I had an illusion. It felt like I was marrying someone who truly loved me. Like this wasn't just a cold, interest-based marriage. That night, I waited in the bridal chamber for Edward. I heard footsteps approaching. The door opened, and Edward's fair face was tinged with a faint redness. His eyes looked dazed. His steps were unsteady. I went to support him. His body weight leaned on me suddenly. We fell onto the bed. He called out hoarsely, MIA, MIA. His warm breath on my neck made me shiver. His weight on me made it hard to breathe. I pushed him aside with effort. I took off his shoes, jacket, and tie one by one. It was better with him drunk, avoiding an awkward night. In the morning, his side of the bed was already cold when I woke up. I freshened up and went downstairs, surprised to see him at the dining table. You're up, let's have breakfast together. I sat down, and the maid brought breakfast. I felt a bit stung. No one had ever waited for me before. At home, I was always the one waiting for my parents to wake and eat together. One time, I had a stomachache, and when I finally got ready to leave my room, I found the house empty. But they always waited for the procrastinator Charles. I looked down and softly said, thank you. Edward looked puzzled. Thank you for what? I looked up, smiled, and shook my head. I hesitated for a moment and then said, can I? He raised an eyebrow, looking very patient. Can I work? I don't want to stay at home. I watched his expressions closely, hopeful. His eyes softened, and he smiled. Of course, you can do whatever you want. My eyes instantly lit up, and I thanked him excitedly. Thank you. I didn't expect him to agree since I wasn't hopeful. MIA, I'm your husband. No need to be polite. You can rely on me. He looked very serious, and my heart skipped a beat. Rely on you? Okay, I replied. I passed the interview and started teaching at a local elementary school. I followed my heart and shared this moment of joy with Edward. He replied instantly, MIA, you're amazing. I laughed to myself while holding my phone. When I got first place in an exam before, I rushed to show my mom. She just said indifferently, got it, help your brother more if you have time. But Edward would praise me. MIA, someone called out, and I turned to see John. I nodded. Why are you here? He looked happy. I felt a bit worried. John had pursued me in college, but I turned him down. He still pestered me for a long time, maybe because my first impression of him wasn't good. He would message me often even when he had a girlfriend. Not long after, I heard he broke up with his girlfriend. Then he started pursuing me aggressively, and some people thought I was the reason for their breakup. I never agreed to be with him, and the rumors gradually died down. I came to check the interview results and look around. He asked, "How did it go? Did you pass?" I nodded, not wanting to talk much, just wanting to end the conversation quickly. "Great, we'll be colleagues." I got in too. I replied dryly, "Congrats. I have to go now." That night at home, I made a big dinner to celebrate with Edward, but even by midnight, he still hadn't shown up. I felt a bit disappointed since we had plans. Sitting on the couch, I started feeling sleepy, and my eyes slowly closed. Half asleep, I felt a moist touch on my neck and the strong scent of red wine. Realizing what it was, my sleepiness vanished instantly. The sound of gentle kisses echoed in the quiet living room. "Edward." I don't know why my voice became so soft. I felt too shy to speak again. He whispered hoarsely against my forehead, "Awake." I nodded in his arms. He lifted my chin with one hand. Our eyes met, and I could hear our breathing. His other hand gently caressed my lips. The dim floor lamp's light fell randomly over us. His deep gaze intertwined with mine, making me unable to move. "Is that okay, MIA?" I nodded instinctively. The next moment, our heated bodies pressed together. I fell into this blurry, moonlit night. The relationship between Edward and me quietly changed. Every morning, he would personally drive me to school before going to work. In the afternoon, even if he wasn't off work yet, he'd send a driver to pick me up. I could take the subway myself, but I enjoyed his care. After class, I was eager to get home, but got stopped by John. "MIA, where do you live? I can give you a ride." "No, thanks." I politely declined. John acted like he didn't hear, continuing, "I'm a great driver." I suddenly stopped, seeing a familiar figure at the school gate. In a flash, I ran toward him once I confirmed, "Edward, what are you doing here?" I tried to suppress my joy, not wanting him to notice. He touched my hair lightly. "Came to pick you up. We're going to a party." The brightly lit hall, the laughing faces, made me feel breathless. I hadn't been to such a party in a very long time. Noticing, he gently caressed the back of my hand. He said, "Don't be scared." My anxious heart calmed immediately. "Edward." A man approached and started talking with Edward. He said to me, "Go get something to eat. I'll find you later." "Edward is really considerate of his wife," the man said with a smile. My heart felt sweet like cotton candy. I picked up a piece of cake at the buffet when a female voice sounded behind me. "Are you MIA?" I turned to see 3 girls looking me up and down with disdain. Before I could speak, they mocked, "Not that pretty. How did you seduce Edward into marrying you?" I didn't want to cause a scene and trouble Edward, so I turned to leave. They grabbed my arm, not letting me go. "Where are you going? Answer us." A passing waiter carrying champagne was pushed by one of the girls. Wine spilled all over my dress. Their laughter attracted everyone's attention. I lowered my eyes and nervously picked at my nails. Suddenly, I was pulled into a familiar embrace. Edward wrapped me protectively in his arms. In a stern voice, he demanded, "Apologize to my wife." Their laughter stopped immediately. "Don't want to work with me anymore." Their faces turned pale, and they quickly bowed and apologized to me. "Sorry, MIA. Get lost," Edward said coldly. This was the first time I'd seen Edward angry. He's usually gentle, but keeps a bit of distance from others. I looked up at him. "Edward, thank you." For the first time in my life, someone stood up for me so firmly. Whenever I had conflicts, my parents always made me apologize, right or wrong. Edward held me tightly. "It's okay. I'll always protect you." My eyes blurred, and a tear fell on his shoulder and disappeared. I knew clearly, I had fallen for him. Work was almost over when a message announced that the teachers would dine out tomorrow for Teachers' Day. I didn't want to go, but I couldn't avoid necessary socializing. The location was a 5-star hotel, which was quite extravagant. Not wanting to go with everyone, I went alone, lagging behind. Pushing open the door to the private room, I froze. It was set up like a proposal scene. I thought I'd entered the wrong room and was about to leave. Then I heard a colleague call out, "MIA, come in." I took a few steps and saw the whole setup. Pink balloons, petals, and everyone's eyes on me. I had a bad feeling, and sure enough, the next second John was on one knee with a bouquet. Before he could speak, I bowed and said, "Sorry," then ran out. My dislike for John reached its peak. I couldn't understand how someone could be so thick-skinned. The next day, colleagues gave me strange, hesitant looks. I figured it was because of the drama last night. A few days later, the principal summoned me to his office. He got straight to the point. "MIA, there's a rumor going around the school that you're being kept. Do you have anything to say about it?" "Kept?" I frowned, bewildered at how such a baseless rumor started. My record said I was married. He paused, then continued, John says he saw you get into $1 million car. And others say they often see luxury cars picking you up at school. Isn't it possible those are my cars? Although they were Edward's, I added silently. He thought for a moment. Go back for now, we'll look into this. I nodded and went straight to John's office. John, did you spread the rumor that I'm being kept? My gut told me it was him, knowing his character. He tossed his pen on the desk, crossed his arms, and said with a mocking expression, isn't it true? MIA, you couldn't even afford to join parties in college. And now you're riding in luxury cars. I threw my book at him, shouting, are you insane? John, I didn't join, because I didn't want to, and those are my own cars. None of your business. Your cars. MIA, you got into Edward, the richest man's, car. He pointed around the office. Ask them. I'm not the only one who saw you get out of a luxury car. The pointed at colleagues averted their eyes and pretended not to hear. Then he shoved his phone in my face with a news article. Look at this. The headline read, beautiful school teacher allegedly kept by Edward, the richest man. There were pictures too. I didn't realize it had blown up in the news. John, don't you think I should inform you if I got married? He sneered. MIA, you dreaming much? You imagine you married Edward? A weak voice came from a corner of the office. Edward made a statement. That's his wife. They even showed the marriage certificate. John's smile disappeared. He couldn't believe it and snatched my phone to check. He stared wide-eyed at the screen, then looked at me. Panicked, he grabbed my sleeve. MIA. I swear I didn't spread that rumor. I shook off his dirty hands. Don't touch me. You brought this on yourself. John collapsed in his seat, eyes vacant. Later, he resigned voluntarily, knowing Edward's influence behind the scenes. My appetite waned, and I felt constantly drowsy. I bought some pregnancy tests. Just as I suspected, it was positive. I gently touched my belly and swore I'd be a fair parent. I hid the test stick in a box. Tomorrow was Edward's birthday, and I wanted to give it to him as a gift. Edward came home early that day. I wanted to run to him, but remembered the baby and walked quickly instead. Edward, you're back. He kissed my forehead. I'm back. I grabbed his hand. Come. I have a gift for you. I was eager for him to know I was pregnant, that we had a child. Edward would definitely be happy. I handed him the gift box. Here, look. My expectant eyes made him smile. Let me see what MIA got me. As he lifted the lid, the smile froze on his face. His hand holding the box trembled. I thought he was just too happy, so I hugged him. He put his hand on my belly and said happily, Edward, we're having a baby. He mumbled, how could you be pregnant? We were careful every time. Suddenly, he went crazy, shaking my shoulders and shouting angrily, MIA, did you do this? Did you poke holes in the condoms? You conniving woman. My mind was a mess. Edward, what are you talking about? He pushed me away and yelled, get out. Then he turned and left without looking back. My stomach hit the edge of the table, and pain surged through my entire body. I clutched my belly and slowly crouched down, sweat dripping from my forehead. Edward, Edward. I called out to him despite the pain, but he didn't stop or look back. It hurts, Edward. Didn't you say you'd protect me for life? Didn't you say I could rely on you? I tried to steady myself by holding onto the table, but it hurt too much, and I couldn't stand. Tears streamed down my face. Baby, don't be scared. Mommy will save you. I crawled slowly to the opposite table and grabbed the phone to call an ambulance. My consciousness started to fade. I kept reminding myself, don't sleep. Don't sleep. If I fall asleep, my baby will be in danger. After what seemed like forever, I faintly heard the ambulance sirens before I finally blacked out. When I opened my eyes again, I only saw the housemaid and my mom. The housemaid was crying and saying, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I thought I should give you and Edward some alone time. So I went to the garden. It's all my fault. I opened my mouth to ask about the baby, but my throat burned, making it hard to speak. The housemaid leaned in and asked, what are you trying to say? I can't hear you. I pointed to my belly. The housemaid looked back at my mom. My mom touched my face and softly said, the baby is gone, MIA. It's okay, you'll have more chances in the future. My body trembled uncontrollably. Tears soaked my eyelashes. What do you mean it's gone? What do you mean there are more chances? This baby will never be the same as before. I started to sob, reduced to whimpers by my sore throat. Stop crying. What good does crying do? Right now, you need to get well so you can have another baby for Edward, Mom said, impatience making her tone cold. Housemaid, stay with her in the hospital and take good care of her. I'm leaving now. Then I heard the door open and close. Eat something, dear. You need the nutrients to recover. I looked at the housemaid calmly. Where's Edward? She fumbled for words, unable to answer. I didn't ask again. 2 weeks later, I finally saw Edward. I stared at him, hoping to see some emotion, but nothing. He wore a khaki coat, his expression unchanged, as elegant as ever. And I was like a withered plant, dull and lifeless. "Why are you doing this to me, Edward?" I finally asked the question that had been suffocating my heart. "What did I do wrong?" He glanced at me and said, "Let's get a divorce." "Divorce?" I laughed through my tears. "You killed our baby." I grabbed his collar, shouting, "Edward, do you know how much I looked forward to this baby?" "Why?" He backed me into a corner, smirking. He bent down and whispered in my ear, "Then give me back my Mary." Seeing no response, he suddenly burst out shouting, "Give her back to me, MIA, can you?" At that moment, I understood why he insisted on marrying me. When he was emotional, he probably called out for Mary, not MIA. "Answer me, MIA. You killed my girlfriend. Why shouldn't you pay in blood for her life?" I wiped my tears and hoarsely asked, "So you married me just to get revenge, didn't you?" He pressed his thin lips together, his words like poisoned knives stabbing my heart. "Yes, what else? Why would I marry a pitiful wretch like you? I wanted to raise you high, love you, then throw you away." His fierce eyes and twisted features screamed of his hatred for me. "I'm sorry," I said, trembling. "Do you think sorry helps?" Edward said through gritted teeth. "Why didn't you die instead, MIA?" The door slammed loudly as Edward left, but his words echoed in my mind, refusing to fade. Moments later, the door opened. "MIA, did you and Edward fight?" He looked so upset. "Did you misbehave again? Why are you sitting on the floor?" "Charles, help your sister to the bed. If she catches a chill, how will she have another baby?" I let them handle me, numb and lifeless. After a long breath, I finally asked, "Mom, you..." But I couldn't say the words. "Never mind, MIA. What's the point? You already know the answer. Someone who doesn't love you never will, even if she is your mother." At night, I leaned quietly against the window, gently stroking my belly. "It's all Mommy's fault," I murmured. "If someone must pay, it should be me, not you. You must have been so scared." "Don't worry, Mommy will always be with you." I stepped into the bathtub and lay down, the water engulfing me like when I was pushed into the pond. Without hesitation, I picked up the blade I'd prepared. In the next second, bright red blood gushed out. I sank slowly against the tub until the water covered my head. The suffocating feeling swallowed my consciousness. But this time, no one would come to save me. "Mary, I'm sorry." This was all that was left in my heart as I closed my eyes. After I died, my soul drifted around the hospital room. The first to find me was a young nurse. She screamed and collapsed to the ground in fright. My mom was the first to rush over. She hugged my corpse and cried so hard she couldn't breathe. My husband, Edward, arrived last. He stood there without a trace of sadness on his face. After he left, my soul couldn't help but follow behind him. He went to our wedding room and opened the door. The bloodstains on the floor shocked even me. Edward suddenly covered his eyes and started bawling. "Edward, you can be sad too. This glaring blood is from our child." I watched Edward's tears with cold eyes. He was the one who owed me a blood debt. He's the one who drove me to death. Why would he be sad? Shouldn't Edward be happy? He finally avenged his loved one. He got drunk in the cellar, hugging our photo, crying and laughing. Is he going insane? MIA, MIA. Edward cried, calling my name. I suddenly thought he seemed like a jerk. If he was holding Mary's picture, I could at least compliment him for being devoted. But now he kept caressing our picture over and over. I suddenly remembered we only had this one photo together. Back then, he said he was too busy at work to take wedding photos. But now I think he didn't want to take pictures with me, did he? Edward gradually stopped going to work. He stayed in that cellar drinking every day. In just 3 days, he looked terrible. His expensive shirt was stained with red wine. His dark circles under his eyes became more evident, and his blue stubble showed. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed this was the Edward who always shone in a crowd. He got up clumsily, and I followed silently behind him, curious where he was going. Edward went to our room. He carefully took out my clothes from the closet and climbed into bed, burying his face in them. Was he smelling my scent? As he turned over, his body suddenly froze. He stared blankly at the DIY house on the bedside table. It was another birthday gift I had prepared for him. I hurried home from work every day, eager to finish assembling it. Our wedding room was just a random property he had bought before. It was decorated like a hotel, without a trace of homey feeling. But inside the little glass dome was my whole life. A small wooden sign at the door read, "Our home." Inside, a happy family of 3 snuggled together. Edward cried again. His sobs were so loud even as a ghost, they annoyed me. I worried someone would come knocking to complain. And just then, The doorbell really rang. Edward ignored it, still crying, but the person knocking didn't seem to want to leave. The sound grew louder. Suddenly, Charles's voice came from downstairs. Edward, you scum. You caused my sister's death. During her hospitalization, you never cared for her once. It's your fault she died. You owe us. You owe us. I looked at Charles's distorted face downstairs and found it laughable. Charles also knew patients needed family support, but every day, I only got cold words from them. No one cared about my feelings. They only cared if I could still have children, whether I could give the Edwards family a child. Rage flamed in Edward's eyes like a tiger ready to burst. He strode downstairs. He opened the door and punched Charles without a word. They fought fiercely. Seeing them fight made me happy. Edward choked Charles and threw him to the ground, sneering, Charles, don't think I don't know how you treated MIA. Charles wiped the blood from his forehead, eyebrows raised, and a thrilled smile on his face. Edward, are you feeling sorry for her? You married her, pampered her, and spoiled her just to make her fall, to get your revenge, right? Now my sister's dead. Who are you acting all lovey-dovey for? He laughed. Too bad, Edward. You hated the wrong person. Mary drowned saving my sister, but I pushed her into the lake. Edward paused for a few seconds, gripping Charles's collar. What did you say? Charles laughed maniacally. I said you hated the wrong person. My sister didn't commit suicide, or accidentally fall in. I pushed her. Edward stood there, stunned. The color drained from his face, and then he collapsed to the ground, unable to recover. Only Charles's wild laugh echoed in the quiet courtyard. After some time, Edward suddenly straddled Charles. He choked Charles, throwing him down, and relentless punches landed on Charles's face. Edward's secretary and my mom tried to pull him off, but they couldn't. He was like possessed, mechanically beating Charles. Charles, bloody, lay on the ground, his face a mess. It wasn't long before security came, or Charles's life would have been over. Edward, devastated, returned inside. He stood by the blood-stained dining table. Suddenly, he lay where I had lain. He took something out of his pocket. Looking closely, I saw it was the razor blade I used in the bathroom. When did he take it? Realizing what he was about to do, I tried to snatch it from his hand, but I passed through his palm like air. Why should he die? I wanted him to live in pain forever. Only then would it be fair to my poor child. But I was powerless, watching as he cut his wrists. Blood flowed from his wrists to the floor, slowly mixing with the dried blood stains. A tear fell from the corner of his eye. He said softly, MIA, I'm sorry. I'm coming. I cursed him 1,000 times in my heart. Jerk. I don't want to see you at all. Mia's epilogue. MIA, you finish cleaning the classroom. I'm leaving now, Charlie said and bolted out like a gust of wind. I was used to it. Ever since kindergarten, my parents had always made sure we were in the same class. They kept reminding me to take good care of my younger brother. I just wanted to break free from this chain, but I realized I was wrong. Charlie kept bothering me endlessly. MIA, wash my lunchbox. MIA, I'm thirsty, buy me a drink. MIA, do my homework. If I refused, he'd use our parents to pressure me. Charlie's behavior was getting worse and worse. I never thought he would one day push me into the lake. MIA. I dropped the watch Mom and Dad gave me for my birthday into the lake. Go get it for me. I couldn't swim, and he knew that. I'm not going. If you want it, go get it yourself. As I turned to leave, he suddenly pushed me into the lake. I flailed helplessly in the water. The lake kept swallowing my head, filling my mouth, making it impossible to call for help. He stood at the shore, laughing. I gradually lost strength, sinking bit by bit. The lake surface became calm. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. You almost drowned your sister. Do you know that? They just brushed it off like it was no big deal. MIA, how are you? Mom, who saved me? I knew Charlie couldn't swim. Even if he could, he wouldn't have dared to save me. I knew exactly how timid and cowardly my brother was. When he broke something at home, he always blamed it on me, and my parents always believed his side of the story. MIA, that girl didn't come up. She died in the lake. Mom quickly added, we tried to make up for it. MIA, she was an orphan, but we bought her the best gravesite. I got up from the bed, stormed over to Charlie, and slapped him hard. Charlie, are you even human? Do you know you caused a death? The next second, my cheek was on fire. I held my face, glaring at my mother with red eyes. Why did you hit your brother? Have you lost your mind? Let me see. Does it still hurt? Mom cupped Charlie's face tenderly. Seeing this, my heart felt like it was being pierced by needles, the pain unbearable. It was a human life. How could they be so indifferent? I went to the cemetery and saw the girl. In the photo, she had a sweet, radiant smile. She was so pretty, so young. She died saving me. I knelt in front of her tombstone, choking on my sobs, saying sorry over and over again. Her name was carved on the tombstone, Mary. So, she was loved too. Edward's epilogue. Everything was going according to my plan, except MIA got pregnant. Guilt flooded over me, drowning any slight joy I might have felt. I remember Mary curling up in my arms, showing me videos of kids online, asking if I preferred boys or girls. I said either was fine. Now, I have a child, but with the person responsible for her death. How can I face her? I felt like running away from this place that suffocates me. MIA held me, refusing to let me leave. Her tear-streaked face made my chest ache like it was being torn apart. Guilt and pain tugged at me from both sides. Finally, I gritted my teeth and pushed her away. I heard her call my name, but I didn't dare look back. Didn't want to see her tear-filled eyes. I feared that if I turned around, I wouldn't be able to leave. What would be the point of my carefully laid plans then? Back at the office, the nanny called, saying the child was gone. I held the phone, dazed and disoriented. I didn't dare think about what had happened that day. I worked non-stop, imprisoning myself in my tiny office. One day, my assistant suddenly took leave to care for a sick child. In that moment, all my defenses crumbled. I had caused my child's death with my own hands. Hanging up the phone, I realized my face was wet with tears I wasn't even aware of shedding. I no longer wanted to continue this plan. I went to the hospital to see MIA. She lay on the bed, pale and lifeless. I forced myself to suppress the guilt that was ready to burst forth. I dug my nails into my palms, acting indifferent as I said the word divorce. My chest throbbed instantly. She rushed up to me, demanding her child back again and again. My rationality snapped. I spilled the entire plan. I never intended to tell her. I just wanted to end this chaos with a quick divorce. She asked, "Did you marry me just for revenge?" Memories of us flooded over me. I couldn't deny it. My girlfriend Mary was cremated by her family in a hurry. I never got to say goodbye. Who could understand my pain? The venomous words spilled from my mouth. I couldn't bear to see her face crumble upon hearing the truth. I had hurt her, but I fled like a defeated soldier. Maybe it's for the best, I thought. She'll definitely agree to the divorce now. The next morning, I got a call from the hospital saying my wife had passed away. Instinctively, I denied it, saying they had the wrong number, and hung up. My hands shook as I signed the pile of contracts. The admired signature I once took pride in now sprawled clumsily on the page. I couldn't stop, my mind blank. I blocked out the secretary's knocks and shouts until he took the pen from my hand and said, "Someone called. MIA committed suicide." I hurled the ashtray to the floor, shouting, "Impossible. MIA wouldn't kill herself. She's trying to deceive me. I'll go to the hospital and see what she's planning." Before I reached her room, I heard her mother's cries. Desperate, I rushed in. The sight of a figure covered by a white sheet stopped me cold. She was dead. I should feel happy. But back home, seeing the bloodstains on the floor, waves of regret, fear, and anguish surged within me. Tears fell like rain, blurring my vision. The blood became faint. Consumed by grief, I drowned myself in alcohol to numb my nerves. I couldn't bear to be sober. How would I endure each minute, each second? I suddenly remembered Mia's subtle camellia scent. In the bedroom, I found her clothes, smelling them for a moment of peace. Then, I stumbled upon a small puzzle of our home. The words "our home" glared at me. A warm family of 3 had been nestled there. I had it all, but I destroyed it with my own hands. Her brother blamed me for driving her to death. But so what? She had killed my girlfriend first. That's right. Charles said it was him, not her. I had blamed and avenged the wrong person. I collapsed, feeling all energy drained from me. I had caused my child's death, driven my wife to suicide, and now they say my revenge was misguided. All my plans were a joke. What reason do I have to live? The ones I loved most died because of me. I have nothing left. In a pool of blood, I lay. I will join them.